Today. He's usually running around in front of the stage. So, we're in the series on our Manifesto values, our 18 Manifesto values. And so this morning's going to be a little different because we kind of got a curveball this week, which I'll explain more later. But we still wanted Nishu to share his story a little bit. So this morning we're talking about the value for the lost. And so, anyway, I just want to give Nishu a hug because he's a big hugger, so I'm just going to love on him. Look at that.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Good game. All right.
Oh, yeah. So the mic runner finally has the mic. Good morning. Hi. So for those who don't know me, obviously, as Brian said, my name is Nishu. I've been part of the Underground since 2009, and currently I serve and lead in Honor One, which is a missional-based micro-church where we're trying to reach out to Asians here in Tampa. And also, I just want to dedicate this moment to my brothers and sisters in Nepal. I understand their suffering and what they're going through, so just want to dedicate this moment to them, if you can keep them in your prayers. So, wow, I guess I'll just jump in, man. Growing up, I felt lost. I felt really lost. So I was born in Queens, New York. So shout out to everybody who's from New York City. Growing up in New York, you have basically every type of ethnicity being represented there. So like, I grew up in Jackson Heights, so it was all South Asians. But due to a problem in my home, I had to move when I was young. And so there was from elementary to middle school, there was a period of time where I moved to the east coast of Florida, a place called Stewart, which for people who even live in Florida, they don't even know where that's at. So, this transition of going to school here, but then over the summer going back to New York, it was difficult. It was hard, and I felt lost in that. For example, so I grew up playing basketball with my next door neighbors. And around 6 o'clock every day, my mom would come outside and she would be like, Nishu! And then she would label me stupid. So she'd be like, Nishu, stupid, get in the home. And my friends were like, what's happening? Like, it can be the most intense game of basketball. Like, the score is 11-11, we're playing up to 12, and my mom would come outside and she would call me in. And when we were young, my friends didn't think of anything of it, but as I got older, they were like, what's wrong with this dude? What's wrong with his mom? What it was is that I grew up in a Hindu family. And so I had to, at 6 o'clock, go in and pray. Well, there was this one scenario, one time where I went in and prayed. I used to pray in the kitchen. I had a cabinet with idols. And when I was praying one day, I saw my friends. And then they were at the kitchen window, and they were peering in. And they were like, what is this guy doing? And then I looked out, and I was like, oh, crap. There I went outside. And one of my friends had a stray cat with a reef on his head, and my other buddy, and they were rotating the cat, and they were praying to it. I was like, man, I felt lost. But it was serious. Not only did I feel lost, I was lost in this moment. I remember in high school, during lunch break, when all the black kids would sit together during lunch, and all the Latin kids would sit together, and all the white kids would sit together. I was the only South Asian around. I didn't have a table, and so I would find myself secluded outside, lonely. In these moments, I felt ashamed, and I didn't want nobody to see me when I was by myself. And so, just not having a table to sit at created deep identity issues for me. There was points where I even disliked being South Asian. I wanted to be something else so I could fit in. Not having affirmation, this loneliness turned into an idol, and so I seek for affirmation in all the wrong places. And that affirmation, seeking for it, left me just more hungry and thirsty. It was hard. At the same time, when I was younger, I moved to the East Coast because of the problem, and when I came I understand that problem, and that problem was that my father had a gambling addiction. This gambling addiction, I remember, for everybody who has been through addiction, who has loved ones that are struggling with addiction, you know what a toll it takes. And for me, it was the same way. I remember electricity being shut off because I was in deep poverty, waking up in the morning and not having milk to drink. I remember my mom, as a boy, I seen my mom hide money underneath the cabinets or underneath the bed to save the little money that we had because my father was always looking for money. This created an idol of like anger. This created something deep in me to where I was pleading with my father. I would plead with him, "Why are you doing this, Father? Why are you doing this?" And no matter what I would do, he would just continue to gamble. And this anger, I remember one time just approaching him and I wanted to just fight him. And I was lost. I didn't know how to handle the situation or how to go about it. In the same way, I was lost when I was sitting outside of the cafeteria with nobody there. My father, he passed away in 2008. As you know, 2008 was the height of the recession. My father wasn't paying the bills, so my home's actually been in foreclosure at this point for like three years. And now, from the time where my father passed away to the home was taken, it was a week. And so, this is basically the epicenter of like the pinnacle of my suffering. The suffering, being angry all the time, being depressed all the time. It felt like I had no control over my life. It brought me to a place where I was tired of fighting. My soul was tired. I was so profoundly lost, and I felt it internally. I wanted to die. I wanted my suffering to end. I remember the thoughts of suicide running through my mind. But because of my father's death, I was originally going to go to UF, University of Florida, but since my father passed away, I ended up going to USF. And I was found. I was found. So when I came to USF, I came with one of my best friends, Jimmy, and Jimmy got involved in BCM, which is Black Campus Ministries. And since I wasn't part of a community, or I wasn't basically doing nothing much, Jimmy was like, "Hey, why don't you come and check this out?" So I went, and I was like, okay. I remember the first time I went to BCM, it was a picnic, and I met Brad, I met Erica, Gay, JP, I met so many people, and I felt love. I remember the love that I felt from that group. I remember just having fun, dancing. And what I didn't know at this moment, but what I will come to soon understand, was that because I found a home, I would find Jesus. So shortly after that, I got involved in InterVarsity, where I met many more friends, Catherine, Kelly, just so many friends. But one friend in particular, her name is Sasha. I don't know if she's here, or wherever she may be. So this friend was like, "Hey, this camp's coming up. Would you like to go to it?" And the camp, at that time, was called Chapter Camp. For those who don't know, Chapter Camp is basically a week-long camp. I call it Jesus Camp, that InterVarsity throws. At this time, I was like, crap, I don't really want to go to this camp. Growing up as a Hindu, you do have like things that you hear from your family, like, "Oh, watch out for Christians," and you picture like Christians shaking rattlesnakes, just like, I don't know, doing something, I don't know. And so I was like, crap, I don't want to go to this camp. And so I remember telling her I had all these crazy excuses, like my grandmama's sick, I have to fly to Connecticut. But none of it worked. She came back and she's like, "Oh, it's paid for." I was like, crap. So if it's paid for, I had to go. So I ended up going. I remember getting there, and it was kind of nighttime. When I got there, I was like, oh yeah, I finally made it, the hood to the hills. I was like, it's so beautiful. I remember that. But going to sleep and waking up that morning, the first thing that I saw, I was like underneath my covers, and I saw Zach and Andrew. They had Viking hats on, and they were fighting with swords. And I was like, what? What is happening? And so I had one eye open, I closed my eyes, and they left. And when they left, I finally got up and I went outside. And when I went outside, I never seen so many white people in my life. I was like, oh my God. At that moment, I could actually say I felt really South Asian. I was like, I am South Asian. I was like, But I remember that week realizing that these people were crazy. What they were crazy for was they were crazy for Jesus. During worship, I finally encountered God. I felt his presence moving in me. I felt this God that I never knew. And in the same way, my mother would say to me when I was younger, making me come home at 6 o'clock to go pray to these false idols. At that moment during worship, Jesus was inviting me into the home of God to say that I am your Father. I never felt God in such a profound way. And from there, since I found God, it changed my life. Because I value the lost, I found myself among the lost. We are all here because of somebody who valued the lost. I remember all the people who carried a lantern of God's light into my life when it was dark. And Jesus set me free, and now I have a lantern of my own. It burns bright, and I can give it to somebody else. This is why I value the lost.